join us on Patreon, and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
The story of humanity is a tale etched in soil, stone, and memory. It stretches across millennia, its footprints left in desert sands, mountain peaks, and the verdant forests of the tropics. For most of us, that story often begins in Africa, travels through the Middle East, and then winds its way through Europe, Asia, and beyond. But tucked away in the Emerald Islands of the Philippines is a chapter of that story so old and so enduring that it defies most modern narratives. This chapter belongs to the Aeta people, small in stature, dark-skinned, curly-haired, and quietly residing in the lush mountainous regions of Luzon. They are rarely featured in history textbooks, seldom mentioned in mainstream anthropological discussions, and almost invisible to the digital world. And yet, they may very well be among the oldest living descendants of the first modern humans to have left Africa. This possibility challenges our assumptions about the direction of human migration and the complexity of our past. The Aeta, along with other Negrito groups in Southeast Asia, embody a deep human legacy, one that predates the development of agriculture, the rise of kingdoms, and even the building of the Egyptian pyramids. Understanding their history is not merely about uncovering a forgotten people. It is about retracing the very steps of our species. It is about understanding how waves of migration, interbreeding with archaic hominins, and cultural resilience forged a lineage that could outlast empires. But could the Aeta truly be the oldest surviving people on Earth? What does genetics say about their origins? How they managed to endure in the face of colonization, environmental change, and cultural marginalization? And what does their continued existence teach us about the diversity, adaptability, and resilience of humanity? To begin to answer these questions, we must first travel tens of thousands of years into the past, into a time when modern humans first stepped out of Africa, not yet knowing that they were laying the foundation of civilizations to come. Around 60,000 to 70,000 years ago, a small group of anatomically modern humans began the journey out of Africa. This migration is considered one of the most significant events in human prehistory. These early humans, likely following coastlines and river systems, ventured into the Arabian Peninsula, then expanded into South Asia and, eventually, Southeast Asia and Oceania. The journey would have been perilous. Volcanic eruptions, shifting climates, and competition with other hominin species like Neanderthals and Denisovans made survival a constant struggle. Among these early pioneers were the ancestors of the Aeta. While mainstream narratives often focus on the later arrival of Austronesians in the Pacific around 4,000 years ago, the Aeta and related Negrito groups, such as the Semang of Malaysia and the Mani of Thailand, represent an even older wave of human migration. These people are believed to have arrived in the Philippines as early as 40,000 to 50,000 years ago, during a time when sea levels were significantly lower and the region's many islands were more interconnected by land bridges or narrower straits. Once in the archipelago, these early settlers adapted to the dense tropical forests, becoming expert foragers, hunters, and survivalists. Their small stature and dark skin are not merely genetic anomalies, but are deeply tied to their environment, a classic case of human adaptation to high UV exposure and dense jungle terrain. This is not just evolution in action. It's survival through millennia. Modern genetic science has provided a window into the past that traditional archaeology often cannot. Recent DNA studies have confirmed that the Aeta and other Philippine Negrito groups harbor some of the most archaic and diverse genetic lineages found in any human population. In particular, they possess a significant amount of Denisovan DNA, more than even the Melanesians of Papua New Guinea, who were previously thought to have the highest levels. The Denisovans were a mysterious archaic human group who lived across Asia and interbred with the ancestors of modern humans tens of thousands of years ago. While the fossil record of Denisovans is limited to a few bone fragments and teeth found in Siberia and Tibet, their genetic legacy lives on in modern populations. The high levels of Denisovan DNA in the Aeta suggest prolonged contact or even cohabitation with these archaic humans, possibly in the deep recesses of the Philippine forests or nearby regions of Sundaland, a now-submerged landmass that once connected parts of Southeast Asia. Furthermore, genetic studies have shown that the Aeta are not closely related to later Austronesian migrants, who came from Taiwan and brought with them agriculture, pottery, and hierarchical social structures. Instead, the Aeta represent a distinct branch of humanity, one that diverged early from other human groups and remained relatively isolated. Their genetic divergence dates back over 40,000 years, placing them among the oldest continuous populations on the planet. This ancient genetic heritage is a living testament to human diversity, migration, and adaptation. It is also a sobering reminder of how colonial and scientific narratives have often erased or marginalized such indigenous histories. Archaeological discoveries across the Philippines support the notion of deep human habitation in the region. Excavations in Palawan have unearthed tools and fossils dating back over 30,000 years. In Calao Cave, the discovery of Homo luzonensis, a previously unknown species of ancient human, adds even more complexity to the region's prehistory. While Homo luzonensis is not directly related to the Aeta, its existence proves that the archipelago was a dynamic and populated area even in deep prehistory. The Aeta themselves have long oral traditions, passed down through generations, that speak of ancient migrations, ancestral spirits, and connections to the natural world. While these stories are often dismissed by modern scholars, they serve as important cultural records of a people who have lived in the same landscapes for tens of thousands of years. During this time, the Aeta developed an intimate knowledge of their environment. Their survival techniques, spiritual beliefs, and social structures were all shaped by their relationship with the forests, rivers, and mountains. In many ways, their lifestyle remained unchanged for thousands of years, until the arrival of colonial powers disrupted everything. The arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century marked a turning point in Philippine history. The Spanish conquistadors brought with them Christianity, gunpowder, centralized governance, and a worldview that could not comprehend the indigenous cultures it encountered. The Aeta, who lived in remote highland areas, were among the few groups that largely resisted conversion and colonization. This resistance, however, came at a price. Colonial authorities often viewed the Aeta as uncivilized, backward, or even subhuman. Their territories were encroached upon, their customs demonized, and their people pushed further into the margins. Over the centuries, waves of settlers, first Spanish, then Americans, and finally lowland Filipinos, claimed Aeta lands for agriculture, mining, and infrastructure development. This dispossession continues to this day. Many Aeta communities suffer from extreme poverty, lack of access to education and healthcare, and ongoing discrimination. Yet, despite centuries of marginalization, the Aeta have preserved much of their language, culture, and identity. This resilience is not just admirable, it is historically significant. Unlike many indigenous groups that have assimilated or disappeared entirely, the Aeta have managed to maintain distinct cultural practices. They speak various Aeta languages, many of which are under threat but still actively used. Their traditional knowledge of herbal medicine, forest ecology, and wildlife remains unparalleled. They perform sacred rituals to honor spirits and ancestors, maintain egalitarian social structures, and prioritize communal decision-making. Music, dance, and oral storytelling are central to their cultural identity. Bamboo instruments, chants invoking nature, and ritual dances serve not just as entertainment but as links to a deeper cosmology. These practices are not relics. They are living expressions of a worldview shaped by tens of thousands of years of continuity. Even today, the Aeta demonstrate an extraordinary ability to adapt. Some have embraced aspects of modernity, such as education and politics, while still retaining their core cultural values. Others have formed advocacy groups to fight for land rights and environmental protection. This adaptability is yet another marker of an ancient people who have survived everything history could throw at them. Despite their unique genetic and cultural heritage, the Aeta remain largely invisible on the global stage. Few international organizations include them in conversations about human origins or indigenous rights. In the Philippines, they are often romanticized as noble savages or exoticized for tourism, rather than respected as bearers of ancient knowledge. Recent initiatives by geneticists, anthropologists, and indigenous rights advocates have begun to shed light on the importance of the Aeta. Several peer-reviewed studies have highlighted their deep genetic roots and urged the global community to recognize the role of Negrito populations in the broader human story. But recognition alone is not enough. What is needed is restitution, representation, and respect. If the Aeta are indeed among the oldest surviving human populations, what does that say about the narrative of civilization itself? Are we to measure the success of a people by their technology, architecture, or economic systems? Or is there a deeper, more enduring form of success, one measured by sustainability, adaptability, and spiritual coherence with nature? The Aeta's survival poses a challenge to the linear model of progress. They have thrived without building empires, without enslaving others, and without destroying their environment. In an age of climate crisis, social fragmentation, and cultural amnesia, the Aeta model of life may hold lessons that the rest of the world desperately needs. To call the Aeta the oldest surviving people on Earth is not a mere romantic notion. It is a hypothesis backed by genetics, archaeology, anthropology, and oral tradition. More importantly, it is a narrative that reframes our understanding of human history, not as a march toward technological dominance, but as a web of diverse, enduring ways of being. Their story reminds us that history is not always written by the victors. Sometimes it is whispered in the leaves of the forest, sung around campfires, and etched in the DNA of the world's quietest survivors. The Aeta are not relics of a bygone age. They are living witnesses to humanity's oldest dreams, oldest fears, and oldest truths. And in their survival, they carry a message, not just about who we were, but about who we still could be.